Hey guys, just this video is for finding the volume of prisms and cylinders, and describing how we would do that, what's our formula, how that same formula applies to lots of different videos. So to start off with, what we're going to look at here is just this idea of what is the volume of any prism. So to calculate the volume, and remember volume is just the amount of spare space inside that I can fill something up with. I use a very simple formula for prisms, and that formula is written here. It's V. So V is equal to the area of our, and you can see it's got that word base. So area of our base, and then we're going to multiply it by our height. And remembering in lessons that we've talked about area, whenever we see that letter H, whenever we talk about height, we're looking at things that meet each other at like right angles. And in prisms, we can take that a step further to describe it in a bit more detail. Is that height? We always say it's right angles, but with prisms, because the way prisms are made is that they're two identical shapes at the ends, and they've just been stretched out. And how far they've been stretched out, the distance between those two identical parts, that's what our height is. So we need to identify what the base of the shape is. What shape did we start off with that we stretch in whatever direction? And that shape is what we find the area of. And then finally, how far apart are those two shapes? And we use that height to calculate our volume at the end. So let's look at now quickly an example that's been typed out for us. And then we'll go through and create our own examples, and pause the video along the way to find those examples. Right, so here's an example that's been done for us already. So this shape here, I'll call it a pentagonal prism. And I'll call it a pentagonal because its base shape right there is a pentagon. It's a five-sided shape. And what we can see in this five-sided shape, notice how it's highlighted to show that, hey, this here. And what they've told us is here is the area. That green covers 35 centimeters squared. And that 35 centimeters squared, you drag it 8 centimeters to get to the other end of that prism. And you can see there I've got that note, 8 centimeters the height, because it's between the two identical. So if I wanted to find the volume of this prism, I use the formula V volume equals area of the base times the height. I write the formula down, and then I make a substitution. Remember that in the question, in the diagram above, 35 was our area, and our height, the distance between the two, was 8 centimeters. So then I multiply them together. And then finally, we got to write our answer, whatever our calculator gives us. And then focus on what the units are. We have centimeters cubed. That's because we're talking about in 3 dimensions. All right. Let's go look at this with another example now that's not typed out for us, and we're going to see if we can follow those same steps. So in example 1 here, I want you to pause, copy the shape down, and come back and answer the questions in terms of what is the base shape, what shape did I start with that we stretched out to get this 3-dimensional shape, and what's its formula, and we're going to find its area. Right, so you've paused, you've copied down, you had a go, so let's talk through our base shape. Well, what we have, our base shape, it's a triangular prism. And it's a triangular prism because we started off with a triangle and we stretched it. And remember that one way of describing the formula of a triangular prism, or it's not, sorry, the formula for the area of a triangle is base times height, and then we divide that by 2. So there we've got it there. So let's find the area of the base. The area of the triangle, well, in our triangle, we've got a 5 and we've got a 3, and they're the two things that meet each other at right angles, so they're my base and height. So what we have is 5 times 3. I'm going to divide that by 2. Well, 5 times 3 is 15. Half of 15 is 7.5 meters squared. And now that we have that, we can use that and go through, and we're going to find our volume of this prism. So remembering that volume is the area of the base, which we found to be 7.5, and you've got to multiply it by the height. How far did we stretch it? So our volume with this shape is our area of a base, which is 7.5 square meters, and we're going to multiply that by the height, the distance between our two sevens, and we end up with 52.5 meters. And remember, because our answer is in 3 dimensions, we're going to put cubic down. So with this example here, if you didn't get it fully copied down, pause the video now, copy that example, and then we'll move on to example 2. And if we have a think about this wannabe prism, this cylinder, what's its base shape? Well, its base shape is a circle. So now what we need to do is, well, what's our area formula for a circle? Well, our area formula for a circle is pi r squared. So let's go through. What is the area of our base? The area of our base is pi times 4 squared. Now I can put that on my calculator, but because it's got pi, it's got lots of decimals. So I'm just going to leave that for a moment. I'm going to save that till the end. But that's what the area of the circle would be. Now we need to find the volume. So we're going to take that area of the circle and we're going to times it or multiply it by, well, how far did those two circles stretch apart? And note how far those two circles stretched apart, we can see is 8 meters there. So we're going to put all this together now. So if we jump in, our area of our base we got was, well, that's just pi times 4 squared. We got that from earlier. And remember that the distance between those two circular ends was 8 meters apart. 8 meters apart. So we're now going to type that on our calculator. When I type that on my calculator, I get 402.123 ... So when I round that to 2 decimal places, 2, and that was meters cubed. Remember, it's cubed because it's in 3 dimensions. So just quickly summarizing that volume is of prisms, it's quite straightforward to find. The hard part is identifying what is your base shape. What shape did you stretch out? Once you've done that, go back to your formula sheet, go, that's my base shape, that's how I find its area, and then finally you multiply that by the height.